Mac, it's time to get into our big three breakdown for week 2. And of course, we're going to start with number 14, Tennessee versus number 24, NC State in Charlotte in the Duke's Mayo Kickoff Classic, I believe is what it's called. And as of now, Mac, NC State is a 9-point dog to Tennessee as we're talking about this on Thursday, 7:30 p.m. on ABC. The game is Saturday night prime time. There are some other big games this weekend. We know Michigan, Texas, of course, is a big one. I think this game might be the most intriguing. I'm not sure if Michigan, Texas is going to be that close, honestly, but I think this game will.
Really?
Uh, no, I really don't think so. I think Michigan,
Okay.
we talk about we're going to give NC State all this flack for looking bad in their first game. Like Michigan did not look good, but it seems we don't really care. I think people have been a little hard on NC State for that week 1 game with a lot of new pieces on defense, new quarterback, new running back. I thought they really pulled it together at the end. I thought it was kind of a comedy of errors. And yeah, if you do that against Tennessee, you're going to lose. But I think that NC State is going to learn from that, and they're not going to look like they did week 1. So let's get into this game, Matt. Give me your initial thoughts.
Well, I love all that. And first of all, it's fascinating to look at this line and see how it's changed. I actually just clicked on it again, KG. It's up to 10. It's up to double
Wow.
digits. So this game is moving in favor of
A
Tennessee.
lot
And
of
I think it
points.
opened at maybe 7 or
Yeah.
6.5 somewhere. It's all the way up at 10 now. So very fascinating. But if you look at it even closer and you just look at kind of the game matchup, the stats are like mirror image when you look at quarterbacks, what they did in game 1,
Mhm.
how many passing yards, how many touchdowns, running backs, same thing, like identical stats there. And then receivers, you have a more dynamic single guy in KC Concepcion. So it is really interesting, especially kind of to me right now, why I've kind of felt the way I have about this. I'm like, oh, Tennessee's about to blow these dudes out, but maybe not. Maybe not, because they really, have looked very similar. And I think the other interesting piece is you've got a guy in Grayson who all the experience in the world has played in these massive games, has done all these great things. Yet I think he was nervous. I think he really was
Oh,
in a
for
new
sure.
place, in a new
That was
system,
obvious.
all this stuff. And so now, how much settled in can he be? How much settled in can he, really become? So I'm really interested just to see that and just to see. And he's in his hometown, grew up in Charlotte. How much more dialed and accurate can he be? Because I think that's a really, really big deal. Obviously, I was disappointed with the rush attack early, but it found its way. And, now we will see. I don't think that you can do what you did in 3 quarters and be anywhere close to Tennessee. You got to channel that fourth quarter, where we saw them really start to rush the ball, get over 200 yards, and Jordan Waters unleash. I mean, we knew it was a matter of time. So you can't start slow there. And then, my biggest key of the game, KG, is however you can get the ball to 10, get the ball to 10.
Yeah.
That's just still. And now there'll be other guys that step up. I think Joe Lee was fantastic. Will be fun to see him play, kind of big boy football this week. Same thing with Noah Rogers. Need him to be in more. Kind of like the Clemson situation, which we'll talk about in a minute. Play him more. Get him on the field. Other guys have had their chance. Sorry, this guy's ready. He's ready now, and he needs to be playing. So that's kind of my big thing. But KC is going to get the ball early, often, and frequently if
He's
I'm
got
NC.
to. He's got to. I'm really not too worried about the NC State offense. I think they showed, I think they were very vanilla against Western. They obviously thought that the game would be out of hand quicker, but they had just some things that didn't go right that I think you can
Right.
fix. The running game obviously is a bit of a concern. You're going to have to run it against Tennessee, and we know that's been our knock and everyone's knock on NC State for the past couple of years. You've got to be able to run it. What worries me, Mac, and you mentioned Nico, the Tennessee quarterback, and Grayson McCall's numbers being similar. Nico only played the first half. That's kind of the difference here. And I think what really worries me,
Slight difference.
yeah. They had us in the first half, not gonna lie. What really worries me is the NC State defense. It
Yeah.
worries me, Mac. And I know Tony Gibson, we both have the utmost faith in him, but they let Western do whatever they wanted, at least for the first 3 quarters. That's going to be a bit of a concern. And when you have this Tennessee offense, this is what Josh Heupel's known for. And Nico seems to be the perfect fit for this
Right.
Josh Heupel offense at Tennessee. This defense, I think the not having Peyton Wilson was such a glaring issue for them, and they also lost some other vets that were really important for NC State. The defense is the unit that bothers me,
Right.
that worries me. Yeah, I think you've got to force some turnovers. You've got to hold up on defense, Mac. Am I off on that?
No, you're 100% right. And I think another thing to, throw out on top of all those people that you lost is you also lost Cade Fordham in the first
Yes,
series because of the
great point.
target penalty, who's your, helmet communication guy, the obvious guy that we thought was going to step up and be the next man up there, and he was gone. And
Yeah.
so, on top of not having Jahai Carter at safety, didn't play game one, who's electric, was a former All American. He's going to be back. Cade will be back. Now you lose Boykin, your other starting safety, so you kind of switch, which is highly unfortunate. But you've got to be ready because if people remember when Tennessee played Clemson specifically, I know people have watched all throughout. They will spread the field. They will literally have their receivers line up near the out of bounds on top of the numbers near the outward, kind of hash marks there, tick marks to really use every ounce of it. So they put you in really adverse situations. Now, obviously, that equates to longer passes, the ball being in the air longer,
Mhm.
but it's more ground to cover. So they're trying to find matchups one on one all throughout. I think Aiden White's going to have to step up immensely and have a massive game. We did see a lot of guys kind of running free against Western that first game. So how can you tune that up? What can you really do? And KG, it's a really interesting thing because obviously if you go man, you're putting your guys on islands. If they miss, look out. But
Mhm.
if you go zone, there's a lot of holes. The holes are now spread out farther. There's different windows. You can't get the same type of pressure. It's going to be fascinating to see the chess match between Coach Heupel and Coach Gibson, which is going to be fantastic. I cannot wait to see it. But I just have to think if I'm Tony Gibson and what am I trying to do? I'm going to try to heat up Nico as quickly as I can.
You
I'm
have to.
pressures. I'm trying to change his timing. I'm going press on the outside, trying to throw off whatever I can to help somebody get home to either hit him or make him move. And it's going to be fun to see what they end up doing.
You have to make him uncomfortable, Mac. And I felt like they didn't really get home against Western.
Correct.
So it worries me that you're going to be able to get home against Nico. But if you let him sit back there and just
Kill you.
dial things up, it's going to be rough. And of course, we know that Western also ran the ball pretty well in NC State. So the defense just worries me. I'm sounding pretty negative, but I don't
Just
think the
take the
offense is
defensive
really
effort,
going to be
game
the
plan
problem.
from last week, throw it away. Just throw it away.
Yes.
We're brand new. Let's get going.
Literally, though, Mac. Okay, let me give you a few numbers here to know from intern Nick's notes, which are awesome. The Vols, the Tennessee Vols, are 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 games as a favorite. That's very interesting right there. And then on the flip side, NC State is 0-4-1, so they had one push against the spread in their last 5 games in September. If there is kind of one knock on NC State as of late, it's that they've started slow, right? They've
Yeah.
started slow in September, they've played well in November. So if that trend holds up, then it could be a rough night for NC State. Mac, because of the defense, because of Nico and his abilities, I'm going to take Tennessee to cover here. I think it's closer early. I don't think this is just a blowout right away, but eventually I think this defense is not going to be able to slow down Tennessee. I hate to say this. I feel I just like I said in the beginning, I don't think we should put as much stock in Western, but there were still some things that were concerning that we saw.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, and it's just a prove it thing. You just got to show me that it's different, because I had really high hopes and was fascinated to see this game kind of coming in, and it's funny. I wish we would have done this 3 days ago. I could have got even better number, but I think at the end of the
Yeah.
day, Tennessee does cover. I think that they are playing at a really high level. I think Nico might end up being the number one overall pick whenever he comes out. I mean, that guy is really electric. And as you said, kind of at the beginning, this offense is kind of perfect for a guy like that. So it's going to be interesting to see the game plan. I've thought this preseason, very talented team. You just got to put it together. And they didn't
Mhm.
quite in game one to make me feel good enough. So it's a bit of a prove it tour right now. for NC State. So I'm right there with you. I'm going with the Vols.
But you're exactly right, Mac. Like we've seen a lot of times teams look in week one, and then week two they figure it out. But we're just going off of what we've seen from NC State and from Tennessee and kind of have those questions been answered, not as much for NC State. I would love to see NC State prove us wrong. And this would be just such a massive statement in so many ways.